and welcome back to Emotional Serenity channel. My name is Roberto Rodriguez and I thank you for being here with me today. On our last video, I presented very quickly the idea behind Emotional Serenity and what is it that we want to share with the world. Now let me tell you a little bit about how I got here and why these, through my personal story, may resonate as something that you can enjoy or maybe benefit from. I'm originally from the south of Spain, Seville, a very beautiful place, and this is where I met my beautiful wife, and we both came from a Christian background. So as you can imagine, we grew in normal working families and with the normal principles that govern a Christian families, where everything seems to be in control as long as you follow the framework that is established, right? As long as nothing goes out of place. So we grew up with ambitions and all of that, but when we got married, we created this perfect picture of these expectations of what our family was going to be. And although we had this picture in our mind, no more than 3-4 years later, this picture was completely turned upside down. My 2 children were diagnosed with autism, and the boy, the big one, was also diagnosed with deafness on both ears. And I lost my job, and we had to move to a different country, and we struggled economically. These are things that anybody could actually relate with, right? I'm sure many of you have gone through similar situations that have pushed you to the limit. But whatever tools that we had developed to emotionally manage ourselves through our daily life were no longer applicable, because these traumatic events that happen on the course of 2-3 years, it set us on a path where everything was completely new, strange, and now we felt that we were left to fend for ourselves in this new emotional carousel of our lives that we were living, right? And the reason why I am standing with a big smile on my face today in front of you, and with this true sense of serenity and happiness, is because Emotional Serenity and the 12 Steps program for people with addiction came into my life. Now you may think, what's that to do with your child has been diagnosed with autism? Why do you consider yourself an addicted person or a person with addiction? And that's exactly what I thought when it was presented initially to me. But through this program, once I realized that my addiction it had nothing to do with any substance, but it had to do with my reality, then a new light was shed in my life. And the application of these principles and the knowledge I've received through the program have completely changed my life. Now I want to highlight and emphasize that this is not about the program. What I want to share with you are the principles that govern my life, and the program was nothing more than the set of tools that allow me to see this. But I'm very excited to take you with me in this journey where I will show you these tools, but with the direction that everything that needs to happen within you, and it is not dependent on any tool. Emotional Serenity is also part of a larger organization called the ESA, which stands for Emotional Sober Anonymous, and it's based on the same principles of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, or the 12-step program. But the idea behind this is that any addictive traits can be manifested in any person without any addiction to substance. And just maybe perhaps we have to define what addictive behavior is. So addictive behavior is characterized for any obsession and impulsion or compulsion. And perhaps when you segregate the definition of addiction into these three terms, it resonates more with many of the behaviors that we have in daily life. Sometimes when we when we teach our children, or we try to teach our children, and they do something that we've told them already not to do, and then our first reaction is to be impulsive and go to your room, or you always do the same thing, or shout, or whatever it is that we do, or we cope with that. Or perhaps you're at work and you're always or constantly stressed about work, and then you can't seem to get out of that sense of I'm being judged constantly. Or when someone says something to you that you get offended, and you don't want to get offended, but you don't know why you get offended, even though you know that you shouldn't get offended. Or perhaps is that you're struggling with in your personal relationships. You seem to always clash with your spouse or your couple, or with your parents, or with your friends, or at work with your boss or your manager. And it seems that every time that you're put into one of these different situations that you relate to, it feels like even if you see them coming, you can't seem to deviate. You cannot seem to stop yourself from reacting to them. Now, the tools that ESA and Emotional Serenity want to bring into your life are the tools, but that will allow you to manage emotionally those situations far more different. But again, the tools are just the means. The goal is progression based on principles. And Emotional Serenity's motto is progression is the goal, happiness is the way. So why am I here? Why is Roberto here? My role is, I'm sure you've heard the term mentor, but I want to clarify what this is. My role as a mentor is not to be a master of knowledge in a particular area. It's not to be a guru of spirituality and psychology and emotional behavior. It's not to be a teacher of any kind, but take me as someone who has gone through the process of an emotional recovery, and I want to come back and take you by the hand to come with me on this journey, because the best way that we can relate to each other is if we go together, and through this series of discussions we will be able to expose or depict what are the daily situations we face that will allow us to improve how we can manage ourselves emotionally. To do this, we have to ensure that we are building on common understandings. We're building on some assumptions. Now you know what my role is, and obviously your role is to, beyond listening to these discussions or conversations, is to actively engage and participate in conversation with me through the channel or any of the social medias or the blog and webpage, so I can understand what exactly it is that you're seeing as we go through these conversations. So that's the basic assumption, that we need actively engagement on your side. The second assumption is a concept of faith, and faith is a concept that is greatly misunderstood. Basically because for certain centuries it's been constrained only to the domain of religion and the dogma behind religion. But one of the assumptions that we need to understand is that faith, we consider faith as the acting principle of our daily life. And the next assumption that I want to share is that we need to understand that we interpret reality or our lives not from a stance of true reality, but rather perception. We are perceptive beings, which means that what you think is true for you is obviously or not, it might not be true for someone else. And imagine this in different cultural backgrounds. It's fear-based for a culture, it might be something good for another culture. In terms of, we could think of food or the way that we work or schooling or a salary or whatever it is. So those concepts that we think that rule our lives are just those that rule our lives. So we need to be open to the idea that what I see is not what everyone else is seeing. Thank you for joining me on this session, and please subscribe, and we will see you on the next video.